Hi all, welcome back. We were discussing the story Cinderella, weren't we? And the headings, the Cinder girl, the magic begins, and the ball have been completed. Did you read up to be completed? Did you underline the unfamiliar words and find the meanings of it? Did you answer the textual questions? I hope all of you have done it. And are you ready to go through the rest part of the story Cinderella, the last part, the search? Okay, let's go through the last part of the story Cinderella, that is the search. The prince became very sad when Cinderella left him. His servants brought him the glass shoe that Cinderella had left in the room. He wanted to find out the beautiful girl who had danced with him. The next day, he sent messengers to announce that the prince would visit every home to find out the lady. This news excited the ladies. The two stepsisters were very glad because they had pretty feet. They put on their best clothes and waited for the prince. But Cinderella didn't have any good clothes. The prince visited every house. He invited girls to try on the shoe Cinderella had left in the ballroom. The girls tried it on, but it did not fit any one of them. Finally, the prince reached Cinderella's house. The eldest stepsister went to her room to try on the shoe, and her mother stood by. But she could not get her big toe into it, for the shoe was too small. Then her mother handed her a knife and said, "Cut the toe off, for when you are a queen, you will never have to go on foot." So the girl cut off her toe, squeezed her foot into the shoe. She concealed her pain and went down to the prince. The prince looked at her shoe and saw blood flowing under it. "Not the right bride at all," the prince shouted in anger. Then the other sister tried the shoe. She went into her room to do so and got her toes comfortably in, but her heel was too large. Then her mother handed her the knife, saying, "Cut a piece of your heel. When you are the queen, you will never have to go on foot." So the girl cut off a piece of her heel and thrust her foot into the shoe. The prince looked at her feet and became more angry and shouted, "There is blood on your shoe. The shoe is too small, not the right bride at all." Then Cinderella came forward and said, "Let me try it." Her sisters laughed at her. "Clear out of here. How dare you come here in these dirty rags, you ugly creature," they said. But the prince asked her to try the shoe. "I have seen you somewhere, but I cannot remember," he said. Cinderella put her left foot into the shoe and it fitted her perfectly. Everybody was astonished. She then pulled out the other shoe from her pocket and put it on her right foot. Just then, the fairy appeared and touched her with her magic wand. In a moment, her rags changed into clothes of silk and gold. The prince danced with joy and cried, "This is the right bride. The shoes are fit for her. She is the right bride after all." He said to Cinderella, "You are the most beautiful girl in the country. I will make you my bride." The prince married and took her to the place. Cinderella pardoned her sisters and took them to the place. They lived there happily thereafter. I hope all of you have listened to the part very carefully. And you may please read the part once again silently. Did you get a clear idea from the part research? Okay, let me give you the explanation. From the last part of the lesson, we knew that by the help of godmother, Cinderella attended the ball and the prince was attracted to her. But Cinderella wanted to reach back home before 12 o'clock. Otherwise, the magic ends. But the prince became very sad when Cinderella left him. The prince became very sad because he attracted to her. That's why he became very sad when Cinderella left the ballroom. When Cinderella fled from the ballroom, she had left one thing in that ballroom. What was that? Yes, one of her glass shoes had left unknowingly by Cinderella. And the prince's servants brought him the glass shoes that Cinderella had left in the ballroom, and the prince wanted to find out the girl who had danced within the ballroom. Then the prince wanted to find out the beautiful girl who had danced with him. Here is a question for you. This news excited the ladies. What is the news referred to? What was the exciting news for the ladies? Yes, the news that the prince would visit every home to find out the lady who had danced with him excited the ladies. Yes, the next day the prince sent the messengers to announce that the prince would visit every home to find out the lady who had danced with him. That means he had attracted to that lady, attracted to Cinderella very much. When the stepsisters heard the news, they became very glad. Why were the stepsisters very glad? Yes, because they had pretty feet. And the stepsisters put on the pretty clothes and waited for the prince. But Cinderella didn't have any good clothes to wear when the prince came to the home. The prince visited every home and he invited all the girls to try on the shoe. The girls tried it on, but it didn't fit any one of them. Finally, the prince reached the Cinderella's home. The stepsisters tried it on and it didn't fit to them. And here is a question for you. Pick out sentences which show that the stepmother and her daughters were greedy and over ambitious. Yes. Pick out the sentences which show that the stepmother and her daughters were greedy and over ambitious. You can see some expression to show that they were greedy and over ambitious. Yeah, the answers are: cut the toe off, for when you are a queen, you will never have to go on foot. Whose words are these? Yes, the stepmother's words. The stepmother says to her own daughter to cut off the toe to fit to the shoe. And the next one is, so the girl cut off her toe, squeezed her foot into the shoe. And the next one, cut a piece of your heel. When you are the queen, you will never have to go on foot. And there is one more expression. So the girl cut off a piece of her heel and thrust her foot into the shoe. These expressions shows that the stepmother and her daughters were too greedy and over ambitious. The stepmother handed the knife to her daughters to cut the toe and heel to show the prince that the shoe was fit to her daughters. At that moment, Cinderella came forward and requested to let her try the shoe. The prince agreed Cinderella to try the shoe, and he said that he had seen Cinderella before, but he couldn't remember where. Cinderella put her left foot into the shoe and it fitted her perfectly. Everybody was astonished, and she then pulled out the other shoe from her pocket and put it on her right foot. The prince danced with joy and said to Cinderella that she was the most beautiful girl in the country. The prince married Cinderella and took her to the palace. Cinderella pardoned her sisters and the stepmother and took them to the palace. They lived there happily forever. Cinderella took the stepsisters and stepmother into palace, and she pardoned them. And they lived, all of them lived in the palace happily forever. Here is a question for you. Cinderella pardoned her sisters and took them to the palace. What quality of Cinderella is revealed here? Yes, Cinderella is sympathetic and forgiving. Cinderella is sympathetic and forgiving. So, this is all about Cinderella, and please read the part, this search once again. I hope all of you enjoyed the story Cinderella. And I'll be back with another video lesson. Till then, bye.